Welcome to Thursday, December 31st, the last day of 2020. As we head into the new year, one thing that is really clear with the weather pattern, La Nina continues to dominate and will continue to dominate well through the rest of this winter season. So we're going to continue to have La Nina-driven winter weather patterns, especially across the western high plains and Rockies. So a lot of what we've had is what we're going to be getting, with a few different curveballs thrown at us here and there as we head into January. We'll have a few fast-moving systems, mainly impacting the mountains and points east, but really, folks, we're going to go through today, New Year's Day, the weekend, with just some snow showers and flurries in the mountains, some wind on the plains, not much going on. The best day by far is New Year's Day. New Year's Day is going to be beautiful. We're going to have not much wind, sunny to partly sunny skies. It'll be a little chilly, but temperatures for January will be pretty good. The wind starts to pick up again this weekend. A few snow showers may happen in the high country. We may have a couple of snow showers on the plains of northern Wyoming, southern Montana, and the Dakotas, maybe even Nebraska this weekend, mainly Saturday night into Sunday, but nothing that's going to amount to much. Now, we may have a possible quick-moving snow producer for the mountains and maybe the plains as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. So for holiday travelers, I think we'll get through the weekend in this region with nothing too bad, but Tuesday and Wednesday is the next time frame when some winter weather is going to move in. Now, we talked about La Nina dominating, and here it is. The latest sea surface temperature pattern shows how extensive that cold water is. If you were to add up the acreage or the volume of water that is in that area, it's huge, and it's right in the tropics. One thing to remember with the weather and the climate is that those warm sea surface temperatures, that warm, moist air near the equator, it's just not warm and moist, it's energetic. The more energy you have in the air, in the water, with the water vapor, with the air temperatures, the more weather you're going to generate, the more things that are going to happen. Conversely, when the water's cooler, there's a little less energy to work with. So it's really, really important not only to show you where those sea surface temperatures are, how cold they are, but the placement on the globe of where those colder water temperatures are really play a huge role in things. And if you notice, north of those cold waters across the rest of the central North Pacific, they're not a lot, but they're a little warmer than average. But what that does is you get a real big temperature contrast right here and up here, where that's causing these really strong jet streams to move across the North Pacific. Now, we have noticed over the last few weeks, these warmer water temperatures are also getting cooler. The whole Pacific Basin is really starting to trend downward with temperatures. But this La Nina zone, this is the area where we have La Nina, El Nino. It is still very robust, and it's going to persist. How long is it going to persist? Well, the latest update from the folks who track La Nina and El Nino show that we're looking at basically 90 to 100% chance through March that La Nina is going to continue. And that's not good, because La Nina is likely going to continue into spring, and that leads to probably another dry spring season. That would put two dry spring summer seasons in a row. And if you look as we get into April, May, June, July, now La Nina chances drop. More of a neutral pattern is likely, but I tell you folks, that's usually what happens when you go in the summer. Those sea surface temperatures do tend to get more towards that neutral zone. Now, as you go into the probabilities of La Nina heading into the summer, they're pretty low, creeping up a little bit by early fall, but odds are very much dominated, skewed towards La Nina for the winter and spring 2021. Now, let's take a look at what the real weather pattern is doing. We've got the upper level low coming in right now. That's splitting. One piece is going to go that way today. The other piece is going to go down towards Arizona. This little guy is going to track up here, producing some snow and more winter weather in a very thin area right here, and a lot of rain in the southeast United States. Now, this guy looks really impressive, but look what happens as we go forward. The system starts to come towards British Columbia, the Gulf of Alaska. We've got this really deep storm up here in the Aleutians. And we've got the low that splits down here and the next low that's coming out here. That leaves this part of the country in a split pattern. So you're just not going to generate much weather when the jet stream splits like that. This storm right here that looks so impressive tonight and tomorrow morning, look what happens to it by Saturday morning. That's all that's left of it. So it flattens out, and we're going to get a quick moving system that's going to zip through like that. So we may have some snow shower activity up here, mainly in the mountains, as we get into the day Saturday and Saturday night, but it's going to move off really quickly. And notice how the jet stream is straightening out again, very strong. We need this jet stream to buckle, cause some waves for our weather to get more stormy. Now we see that possibly happening next week. This is the forecast for snow through Sunday afternoon into Sunday evening. You can see it's very skewed to the Pacific Northwest, the mountains of northwestern Wyoming, western Montana, Idaho, into the Pacific Northwest and the Sierras and into the northern Great Basin. But we just really don't have much going on in our neck of the woods through Sunday here because these systems are moving so fast and they're splitting. This is where we'll have some travel problems. A narrow band of wintry weather will extend all the way from Big Bend of Texas through the Midwest and Great Lakes. So if you're going to be traveling through here, you're going to need to watch out for some ice and snow conditions over the next couple of days. As we take a look at the next system, this is what's going to come in on Tuesday. It's a fast-moving wave. This looks very similar to the system that we had earlier this past week, where we may get a little bit of snow on the plains, a nice little shot of snow in the mountains. But again, it's going to be a fast mover. Until these storms slow down to where you can get a nice upslope component, you're just not going to get a big snow on the plains, just little ones. We've got all of this cold air and energy back up into the Gulf of Alaska and the North Pacific. Now, we talked about, I'm going to show you this next map here. We talked about in yesterday's podcast in the long term about negative Arctic oscillations and negative North Atlantic oscillations and the possibility that things could cut loose and it could get colder. Well, on today's models, look at this. This is for the 13th and 14th of January. Look what happens. We get a big area of low pressure that settles in basically out of Hudson Bay and heads south into the central United States. What this would do would bring a big plunge of cold air into the nation right around that 12th, 13th, and 14th of January. Now, will this happen? That's a good question. We have to take this with a grain of salt, but it's on the table. When you start to see things like this show up, sometimes the models will take them away the next day and you'll never see it again. But as we said yesterday in the podcast, we've got the right ingredients for something like this to happen. If it does, you can see the cold air that will pour into the United States with it towards the middle of January. So again, a question mark, but something to keep an eye on. Have a happy new year, everyone. Our next podcast will be Monday. Have a great and safe week.